Hey everyone, this is Camden Starley, and I decided to start a YouTube channel because why not? Actually, it's something I've been feeling like God has been speaking to me about doing for a bit, which is surprising. I never really have seen myself as this like online person, but I love connecting with people and I love relationships and I love you guys, so many people that I meet all over. So that's mostly why I'm wanting to do it, is just to share myself, share things that God's been speaking to me about, and be able to connect with people that I'm just meeting all over that I want to stay in relationship with. So, hello, I am wearing a winter outfit. I think I'm going to go out later, maybe to Hershey Park. I live in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, and we have a theme park near us. And it is not past January 1st yet, so they still have their Christmas decor up. So I want to go enjoy that, which is why I'm wearing this jacket and a scarf. It's been unusually warm here. It was like -6, and then suddenly it's close to 60. So crazy change in weather. But anyways, one of the main things I wanted to do in my first video was really just share some of my story and share who I am, what I'm about. Um, because I don't know how many of you guys know my story and even know why I'm doing ministry, why I'm wanting to pursue God in this way, what made me this way. Maybe you're wondering that. And if you are, I just wanted to share some of who I am and just share briefly about how I got started. So when I was younger, I grew up in a cessationist home. So that means that the preaching of the moving of the Holy Spirit was not taking place. I didn't know that God's presence was active, or if I can say it better, I didn't know that I could learn how to consistently hear from God in a consistent way and learn how to cultivate his presence in my life. I didn't know that that was a skill and something that I could pursue and learn more about. I just knew that I got saved and I could look forward to heaven. And had a lot of really, really great Bible teaching, which I love Bible teaching. But I didn't know that. I didn't know that I could learn how to cultivate the presence of God in my life. And so even as a kid, I mean, I have an amazing family. Feel so loved by them. My dad was someone that was incredibly hungry for Jesus and is still one of my heroes because of his love for God and for people to know Jesus and for Jesus to be exalted in his life. And so that is definitely a legacy that I desire to carry on. But when I was around 8, my dad passed away suddenly, very suddenly. I had just turned 8. It was in September, so my birthday's in September. It's the end of September. He was the principal of my school. I attended a small Christian school, and it was over our fall break that he passed away suddenly. He was only 34. Something we completely did not expect. And I still remember a lot from that time and have memories from before he passed. But I had 2 younger sisters. They were 4 and 2 at the time. And my mom was only 30. So we were suddenly thrust into this tragedy, this unexpected tragedy. And we had our community surround us in such a beautiful way. And maybe I'll talk about some of that experience more in depth at another time. But for myself, how it impacted me at the time is, I mean, I was a kid, so I didn't really know how to deal with grief. um, it affected me in different ways, but ultimately, I was dealing with depression and wondering what my purpose was in life, because suddenly I was faced with the reality of death. That life is short, that it's fragile, especially with the fact that my dad died really suddenly. I'm sure it'd be different for those of you that have lost a loved one where it was over a journey, a period of time. and you start grieving in advance. I don't know what that's like necessarily, but for me, it was very sudden. And so as a kid, it just felt like, whoa, death is like, it's really near, eternity is near. Um, so I wrestled with these heavy things even as a kid. It wasn't like I could just see life the way that it was before. And in the midst of that, my mom got remarried when I was almost 13, to an amazing man. I love Brad, my stepdad. He's incredible. That was something that was hard for me, especially being almost 13. It's a hard age for people anyway. And before that, I had started dealing with chronic pain when I was around 12, that developed into chronic migraines, where I had a migraine that never went away, about a level 7 or 8 migraine that just never left. I don't remember exactly when it became constant. I just remember I was having these migraines, then all of a sudden they just never really left. And I ended up dealing with a migraine like that for about 4 years, that just never went away. And so obviously I didn't know that it was eventually going to leave, which I'll share about later. But in the midst of that, we were trying everything we could because we didn't know the cause. And I'm sure for those that have dealt with migraines, that there can be so many different things that cause migraines, and lots of doctors have different opinions about what it could be. And I was also struggling with, when I go to the doctor, sometimes I thought it was all just because of me losing my dad. And I remember being hurt that day. I was like, well, how could it all just be this? Because I'm not, just feeling sad all the time. It didn't make sense to me. Now looking back, maybe I could say that there's different factors. I'm not sure. But either way, we were in a place of not having many answers and spending a lot of money, my parents spending a lot of money to try to get answers, going to so many different doctors, people just not knowing how to help me. And so, as I said, I was dealing with depression, dealing with anxiety, not knowing what my purpose in life was. I just felt numb. And with the Christians that were around me, because I grew up in the church, I grew up in Christian education, so I never attended public school. I always had church around me. um, I just didn't know if God was really present. I knew it was I probably because of the example of my family and the example of my dad, I knew that God was good, and it was good to follow him, but I just didn't know if he was present in my life, um, if he loved me, if he wanted to be close to me. Um, and I didn't know the purpose of my life. And so being in that place and dealing with pain, I just was having my life slowly stripped away from me. I had to keep moving schools. I was held back a grade because of my pain. Um, and eventually, after switching a couple different schools, it led to me thinking, okay, I think I'm going to have to be homeschooled because I just can't keep up with the work. I had to drop out of all my extracurriculars. I just was pretty much watching TV and doing the minimal things I could do. And my mom posted on Facebook that I was either going to have to get Botox shots or be hospitalized for 2 weeks because we just tried so many things and nothing was working. So when she posted it on Facebook, one of her friends from middle school and high school, and they had gone separate ways. They had reconnected over Facebook, and her friend Kevin Reardon had had a radical salvation experience with the Lord, was on fire for God, and just praying for people on the streets and online. And he offered to pray for me. And I remember thinking that nothing was going to happen. I remember I was downstairs on our couch watching TV, and my mom called me and said, hey, this guy wants to pray for you. And I remember thinking, okay, like prayer, whatever, nothing's going to happen. Especially because you have to remember at that point, I tried so many things. I was feeling jaded. So when Kevin prayed for me over the phone, it was the first time I had my pain leave in like 3.5 years or so. And so that got my attention. And the thing that was interesting is I remember deciding internally, okay, I have to tell because I was sitting there with my mom, I have to tell her that the pain is leaving. And that was intimidating for me because I had gotten used to the pain. Like anyone that has dealt with chronic pain or is close to someone that deals with chronic pain, you know that you have to get to a point where you just decide to live your life. And that was something that was hard for me when I was dealing with chronic pain. Is a lot of people don't understand what it's like to deal with chronic pain. Is you get to a point where, okay, yeah, of course you're mad about the pain or you're sad or whatever, but then eventually you realize, okay, well, right now it's not going away, so I'm going to just choose to live my life. And then people think, well, you must be better. And I remember telling them, no, I'm not better. I just decided that I didn't want to be sad all the time. I just decided I didn't want to stay at home all the time or just be sad around you. I want to be happy when I'm with you. I want to have fun. They don't understand that internal choice you have to make. And so for me, it had become a part of my life. I was used to it. I was used to having the pain. And so when the pain left, I had to tell my mom that it left. And it intimidated me to think about what would life be like when I'm healed. That intimidated me. But I told her that it left, and I was so excited. I just remember I just spun and spun and spun and spun and spun around the room because I used to get nauseated and sick and I couldn't spin around the room. And when I was a kid, I loved doing that. And I started having this pain when I was 12. So I was still kind of a kid. At this point, I was 15. So I just spun and spun and spun around the room until I fell down laughing because I was so excited. But then the pain ended up coming back, and I didn't end up getting completely healed until a year later. And it actually, in that year period of time, got worse. And I grew up having some food allergies, but suddenly these new food allergies just became really inflamed. My body could hardly digest anything. I had all this pain in my gut, and it was always bloated and swollen, and I could barely eat different foods until it was progressing until about a year later from when I'd been prayed for. I was at a point where I was eating this gluten-free, dairy-free, like egg-free bread, this super specialty bread and broth. And that was the only thing I could have. And without having a reaction, which for me, a reaction was worse pain in my body, in my gut, and then a horrible migraine. Like, so I had about a 7, 8 migraine all the time, to go up to a 10, to where I couldn't really do anything. So as I said, I was able to do some stuff. Like I just got used to doing life. Okay, I'm going to wear sunglasses inside, whatever. But if it was a level 10, I really couldn't do anything. I was in a dark room for days. So with the pain getting worse, and dealing with the depression again and anxiety again, Kevin, the guy that prayed for me over the phone, invited me up to a healing meeting that Dr. Mike Hutchings, who's the director of our global school, was leading. And he was teaching about how to see people healed. So we have a model that we use called the 5-step prayer model for praying for people for healing, and teaching on how to receive words of knowledge, which is when God shares information with you when he wants to release healing. So he was teaching some of these practical healing school things that we do, which I can share more in depth about later. But just for those of you, I know that there's still people that are connected to me that this is new for them. So that's why I'm sharing it that way. So it was new for me coming up. But when I came up, I thought, okay, I really felt like I was going to get healed, and I had butterflies in my stomach. Like, I think everything's about to change. And I remember we ran out of food for me because my mom always had to buy food, and we had to make it, and we didn't have any more for me. And so I thought, okay, I'm going to have to get healed, or I'm just not going to eat anything. So I drove up to Butler, Pennsylvania, fully expecting to be healed, but also nervous. And on the first night, someone called out a word of knowledge about food allergies and gut issues and migraines. And I knew that that was for me. So I went up and someone on the team prayed for me, and I had all of my pain leave. I had like 90% of it leave. And then the next morning I woke up, all of my pain was gone. And it was incredible. It's hard to describe how amazing it feels when you've been dealing with pain for so long and to have it completely leave. You feel so free. And that was what I felt. I felt so free and I felt so alive. I felt really alive. For the first time in a long time, I felt a sense of purpose, and I felt an awareness that God loved me, that He was present with me, that He saw me. I think that's one of the things I really love about God, is that He sees each of us. He sees our lives, He sees our journeys, He sees all the things that we go through, and He loves us and He wants to be with us. And I think that that's part of the problem, and part of the question that I was asking my heart was, did God really see me? Did He really see my pain? And did He really want to be with me? Was He present with me? And for me, that was how He revealed Himself to me, was through healing me. And then I wanted to give it away. I wanted to give it to everyone that needed it, because for me, it was such a revolutionary thing in my life to recognize, wow, God is present and active and alive now. And I can partner with Him now, and I don't have to wait until heaven to be with Him, because that was a part of what I was feeling in my heart, was I just wanted to go to heaven. Um, I just wanted to be in a place that was perfect and where there was no more pain and suffering and hardship. But when I realized that God's presence is active and alive now, and He has a purpose for me here on the earth, it awakened something within me that made me realize that there was so much more that God had for my life, so much more than I could realize. And I really had no idea at the time, and I still think I have no idea now all that He's going to do. Um, but that's just the beginning part of my story. I wanted to share part of it. And really, that's my goal and purpose in making the YouTube videos, is just sharing my journey, sharing things that God is teaching me about, and also just sharing practical tips of how do you become someone that um, cultivates depth with God, because that's something that I'm passionate about. For me, getting healed, that sparked this desire in me to be close to the one that knows me and loves me. And I realized, wow, God wants to be close to me, and I want to live in such a way that I can live so close to Him. That's still my biggest desire of my heart. And so I want to help you with that if that's something that you desire, because I've been on this journey now for about 10 years of pursuing God in a deep way and learning how to cultivate His presence in my life. And it's the greatest gift that I have. And so if I can help someone with that, then that is my honor. So anyways, thanks for those of you that have watched the video, and I'll be sharing more. I feel like God wants me to share really consistently online, so I'm going to try to be faithful with that. But thanks for watching, and I hope you guys enjoy your new year and do something fun with family, and I'll see you guys later.